One of the things that you guys were talking on the panel there are no frameworks. Nigeria is struggling now to set up a proper structure where the government can see the benefit of implementing strategic infrastructure to benefit the people that are basically affected perhaps by the extraction of natural resources.
Thank you very much. I think the first point to make is that good business is profitable business. It's no longer business as usual. Companies will not just go into Africa now and extract and leave. The presence of China is changing dynamics. You must make sure that you know where the balance of power lies. For example, it's all well and good for you to sign a contract with the government. What about the community? What about the other stakeholders? If you do not carry along other stakeholders, you're going to have problems. Examples of difficulties that extractive companies are having in Africa abound. But increasingly also we say that the landscape is changing. Companies are increasingly trying to engage the community, engage the government, engage even their employers to make sure that they get things right from the outset. Of course, there's been a lack of governance in the past, but that is not so much true these days because with regulation, the government is obviously making sure that the companies are more accountable, and the community is also flexing their muscle. They are beginning to ask questions. They're beginning to make sure that companies are accountable not just to them, but obviously to their investors, to their shareholders, and to their employers. Employers even themselves are asking questions. The people are beginning to leave employment because their principles do not tie in with that of the companies. So I think the bottom line is for companies doing business in Africa and coming into Africa to make sure there is a win-win situation for everybody. And it can only be a good thing that companies get it right from the outset. And that's where we sit. We increasingly advise companies on how to get it right across the continent.
What's the economics on that?
The tax regime of the natural resource industry in Africa is very complicated. There was an article recently that in a very small business in Ghana, for example, paid more tax than X company, and it's historic because a lot of these companies are headquartered in offshore tax havens. They have very complicated structures, very complicated subsidiary structures, and it's actually very difficult to find out where lies the ownership structure. But again, that is changing. Legislation with like the petroleum industry bill in Nigeria, when it comes on board, will change all that in Nigeria. Countries like Ghana, countries like Mozambique, countries like Tanzania have framework in place that will make sure that the companies that extract in their countries are accountable.
Thank you very much, Colin.
Thank you very much.
Speaking to you.